welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Carly. I am a homeschooling mom to 3 boys ages 11, 9, and 6. And today I just wanted to show you all of the different resources that we have either used or plan to use during our morning basket time. I call it morning basket because most people are familiar with that as far as for this video's purposes. But in our home, we actually call it gather round because we don't always get to it in the morning. So it was just easier to call it something that we could fit in any time of the day, because my kids were questioning me when we called it morning basket and we were doing it at like 2 in the afternoon. So the way that we do our gather round time is it's the time that we do our family style core subjects, so both science and history, which I'm not going to share with you today, those two things, because I'm going to share in a different video. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested in what we will be doing in the fall, starting in the fall for both our science and history. But just for this video, I'm going to show you all of the extra things that we incorporate into our gather round time. So for science and history, we do every other day of those, and so except for Tuesdays, because we have a homeschool partnership that we go to from 9 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon on Tuesdays, so we don't do gather round that day. But Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we do, and so we'll just go back and forth alternating history and our history and science lessons or social studies, and so we'll end up getting 2 days of our history or social studies in, and then 2 days of our science each week in. But along with that, we do incorporate quite a few other smaller things within our gather round time, and I thought it would just be fun to share those different resources with you. So if you're thinking about incorporating that into your homeschool this year, or if you're kind of not sure which things to put in so that it's not too long, I will show you a bunch of different things, but we don't use these all at once. We end up with our history or our science lesson. Our gather round time is about an hour total, and that's with our read aloud time, so if that's helpful. And normally our read aloud is just a novel that we're doing, and it's also a couple picture books that we've usually chosen from the library, and then also our history has novels that go along with it as well, so usually a chapter from that as well. But on top of that, we like to do some different fun things. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to show you some different options for like a Bible study and things that we have really enjoyed in our homeschool and that don't take up a ton of time. So this is the first one, and this one has been great. We only have a couple pages left in this one to go, and it's called How Great Is Our God? And the author is Louie, Giglio. I believe that's how you say his last name. And it's 100 indescribable devotions about God and science. And the cool thing about this is, so you just do this page, and that's your whole reading for the day, your whole lesson for the day. And it's great because it incorporates science right into scripture and lessons from the Bible, and how you can incorporate those two things together to kind of connect that, especially for those science brain kids. It's really great. And so they're, very short lessons, and they are very engaging for my kids. All 3 of my kids for their ages really love them, and so I would definitely recommend that. So to go along with that, we haven't read this one, but I have it for when we finish the first one, is The Wonders of Creation. So 100 more devotions about God and science by the same author. So the same idea, it's just each lesson is just basically 1.5 pages long, so it doesn't take a lot of time. And then I also have this one here, which goes, this one here, which I just picked up, and I'm excited about this one. It's Build Kids Bible Confidence in 10 Minutes a Day, Core 52 Family Edition. In the same idea, it goes like day by day, so that you can see here, I don't know if you can see that, but it's day 1. So it usually just has like a small Bible verse, and then it goes into like a small discussion on that, and then a challenge, like a prayer challenge for your kiddos. And so every day there's like a new thought on it. Sometimes it's really short, so this is day 2, day 3, day 4. And so again, it doesn't take a lot of time. The reason why I picked this up, and I think we're really gonna like this one, is that it it leads your kids to read the scripture directly from the Bible, because most of them, the devotions that I found, you're reading them right from like the book, but I like that they have to actually reference their Bible and open that up and learn to look for different scripture within the Bible. It's great practice. So we're going to be using this one probably next year as well. And then the last one I have is Saints Around the World. Again, this one is one that you could do if you're interested in teaching your kids about the saints. Is each day just read about one, or maybe incorporate it so you're reading them on different saint days, things of that nature. So with these, I know that I gave you 4 different resources, but we do one at a time. So let's say we're working on this one in our gather round. So we just do this one until it's completely done, and then we put it away, and then for the next part of the school year we're working on just this one. So we're not doing like all 4 at one time, we're just doing one devotional each day for our gather round time. Along with that, so that would be our devotional time. So then we usually wrap into or go into our I just like to introduce them a bit to poetry. They're still pretty young, so I don't get like very in-depth poetry, and I try and do ones that are fun. So we'll usually read, after we do our devotion, then we'll read one poem. And so these are just some different resources that I have found that are great for my kids' ages, especially even my youngest one. And they're simple and literally take like a minute to just read a poem a day. You can have a discussion about it. You don't have to have a discussion about it, and it gets them exposed to poetry. So the first one is Sing a Song of Seasons, which I have shared in a different video as well. And it's called A Nature Poem for Each Day of the Year. And again, very, very short, and it gives you the date. So it gives you each month and then the date. And so if you wanted to use it for a whole entire year and just get one poetry book, this would be a great option, because it has 365 poems and it's so easy to just follow along with. So along with that, if your kids aren't really into nature, or these ones are a little more complex, there is this one which I think is good for even like 2, 3, 4-year-olds, because it's silly, is A Whale of a Time. And this one is a funny poem for each day of the year. So it's set up exactly the same, where it has just 365 poems. You just go to the date at the top for that month and you read that poem. So those are a lot of fun. And these 2 books I would recommend if like you're not super into poetry and you know that it's probably good for your kids to be exposed to it, but it's not your favorite. These are super simple, and I think you'll enjoy those as well. And then the last one I have is called When Green Becomes Tomatoes, and it's poems for all seasons, which I love doing things based on seasons. It makes it fun. So again, it's got dates at the top to read. This one now, if you're not wanting to do like a poem every single day, is definitely a good choice, because it doesn't have every single day. It has each month, but only like a couple within each month that you read. So you just have to know the dates that there's poems for, and you would be able to just pick it up on those specific dates and read a poem. So those are some really great poetry options, especially if you're like just diving into gather round or morning basket time and you want to put it in there, but you don't want to take a ton of time doing poetry. I will try and link as many of these things down below as I can. I got most of them off Amazon, or I think I can probably find them on Amazon for you. Okay, so now we've done our devotional and our poetry, and then we like to go into just like a small story. And what I mean by that is the one that we started with this year is 50 True Stories of Daring Men of God. Now, obviously, most of the resources that I'm going to share today are faith-based. So if you're looking for more of like a secular morning basket or gather around time, this probably isn't going to be super beneficial to you, but I do have some things coming up next that are not faith-based. So if you still want to see those, stick around for those. So this one is Brave Heroes and Bold Defenders by Shirley Ray Redmond. And again, I really love this because it goes through a bunch of different like athletes and people that were working within the church, and it goes through missionaries and political figures. So it has a really good like variety of men and what they had done to become strong men of God. And my boys really enjoyed this one. We've already completed this one. And so for each day of gather around, we just read about one person, and then the next day we just go to the next person. And sometimes we have some discussion about it, and sometimes we don't. It just depends on what the topic is about. Sometimes we've dug deeper into it later because they've wanted to learn more about a particular person. I found it's really easy if you can find like the Who Was books for these particular people. Like at the library, my son has read a couple of those based on the men that we've read about in this book. Now they do have 50 True Stories of Daring Women of God as well, which I have, but I have not read. But I can't show it to you today because I let my niece borrow it, so she has it right now. But I'm sure that one is just as good. And we plan to use it. I want my boys to be exposed to, you know, daring women of God just as much as I want them to be exposed to daring men of God. So we will get to that one this year once I get it back from my niece. And then the other one I have, which we're going to be reading this fall within our gather round time, is Courageous and Bold Bible Heroes. So 50 True Stories of Daring Men and Women of God. Same author, Shirley Ray Redmond, and it's the same idea. So one person a day. And so it makes it really simple. So again, I'm not doing both of these at once in my gather round. I'm doing one at a time. So once we finish this one, then we put that away and we started with this one. Once we finish this one, I have another one that my boys actually picked out and they're excited about, is the same author again, because I really loved how short and concise her topics are, is Brave Animal Stories for Kids. So 50 True Tales that celebrate God's creation, and it's all about different animals and how they bless different people and things of that nature. Now this one doesn't have pictures and color like the other one does, so I will just let you know that maybe this one, if you're doing it as like a read aloud in your gather around time, just be aware that it doesn't have pictures for like little ones if they really like those. But I will say my 6-year-old is excited about this just because it is about animals, and we have read a couple of them just to kind of see what we thought of them. So we'll usually read, something about a historical figure within our gather round every day. So again, now we've done devotion, poetry, and a historical figure. And then, oops, I have this one. I just picked this one up, and we haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm excited about it, is Notable Native People, 50 Indigenous Leaders, Dreamers, and Changemakers from Past and Present. This one does have a different author. It's Adrienne Keene. So you can see that one as well. And so we'll get to that one eventually. I just kind of, as I find them like at a thrift store or whatnot, I will pick them up. And then I also have 50 women of science that have changed the world and 50 women of art that have changed the world. I haven't gotten the men version of those because I just haven't found them yet. But those two, again, my niece borrowed. So she grabbed all the ones when she was here visiting of the different women throughout history. So she wanted to pick those up and read those, and so I'll get those back from her eventually. So like I said, now we've done our Bible or devotion, poetry, and a notable person in history. And so then the last thing that I like to do before we start our read aloud time is I like to kind of pick just like a fun book to do, and then do a short math problem. And what I mean by a short math problem is, I don't know if you've ever seen these, but we absolutely love them. They're called Bedtime Math. And I know it says bedtime, but it works best for us to do them in the morning during our gather around or morning basket time. And it is a fun excuse to stay up late, but in our circumstance, it's just a fun excuse to do math. And I love these because they have, this would be like if you do like one math problem a day, and so you'd read about, like this one is about hot peppers, and so you'd read all the information on hot peppers. And then there's 3 different levels of math problems. So if you've so this one would be for your smallest kiddos. If you've eaten 3 bites of jalapeno and you know you can eat 8 bites of them before you just can't take the heat anymore, how many more bites can you stand to eat? And then it has one for like little kids, and then it has one for big kids. So we just go around the table and I read, because I have 3 kiddos, I read the easiest math problem to my youngest and he answers it, and then my middle one answers the middle problem, and then my oldest answers the big kids problem. And there's lots of different topics throughout the book, and they love doing these. They help each other if they can't find the answer, and it's usually a mental math problem so that it's not too tricky for them. So we have Bedtime Math, This Time It's Personal, and then Bedtime Math, The Truth Comes Out. And I think I found all 3 of these on thrift books over time. So those are fun. So now we've done our devotional, our poetry, our notable historical figure, and our math problem, which again, it seems like a lot, but it really does not take a lot of time because you kind of zip through each thing and your kids get really used to the routine. And so like I said, then I like to do something just fun that we'll pick up a book and kind of go through it throughout the year, and as we finish one, we'll grab another one. So the 2 things that I picked up for next year that we'll probably try and get through is the Wild World Handbook Creatures, and this one is How Adventurers, Artists, Scientists, and You Can Protect Earth's Animals. And so it is a little more in depth, but I think we're gonna kind of just like read through a couple pages a day until we get through it, depending on our time. So like it gives you all sorts of information about different people and different ways that you can like help your environment, different types of animals. So that should be a lot of fun. And if we finish that, I'll pick up another book. I know they have a couple different ones in this series, so we'll see if my boys like this one. And then the last thing we do is, before we do our history or our science and our read aloud for the day, is we do this day in history for kids. So it's 1001 Remarkable Moments and Fascinating Facts. And again, it's so nice because it gives you the month and the date, and for each date it'll give you like different things in history that had happened. So this one is about Jane Goodall, and this one is about Easter Island. And so it just gives you a little blurb of history for each day. That's a lot of fun to go through. And my oldest, again, he really loves the Who Was and Where Was series, and he has checked books out based on the topics we've talked about in this book to learn more about them just on his own as we're sitting in the library. So that's been really great. So that's just a couple recommendations and kind of like a basic rundown of how we do our gather round or morning basket time. I hope this was helpful for you. I think what I'm going to do when our school year starts back up is I'm going to do a day in the life so that you can follow along with us on how we do our gather round and how we set it up each day, because it's always nice to kind of see how people are doing it with their kids and how it all works out. So thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate everyone, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.